I want to thank a few people. Allen Neighborhood Center for allowing us to be here. President Ryan Cost for helping get the media set up for us. So thank you. City TV, thank you for coming out. And the most important person is our timekeeper, Brian Bear. I don't know what I would do without him. He's done it most of the time for us, so, except 1 year. I think Kirsten did it. So, a few little rules that we're gonna go. We're gonna alternate. I've got some written questions here, and we're gonna take questions from the audience, so we'll kind of go back and forth. Please keep your answers directed to the questions. I know sometimes it can be difficult to kind of get off. We're not going to do any personal attacks. Everyone is here to listen to what you're going to do when you get elected. So having said that, the process will be, we're going to do, because there's so many, we're going to do a 1-minute opening statement. And we're going to do 2-minute question and answer, and then a 1-minute closing. So, and I am going to turn this over to Jerry Norris, who's going to be the moderator, and I'm going to help him with the questions.
Hello, everyone. She asked me this 3 minutes ago to do this, so I would address more appropriately. I don't know what I'm doing, and I think I start out with the first question, right? Yeah. So for the, in everything's catalog, everyone's at large?
Whatever question you want.
Oh, I get to pick, huh?
What we're gonna do is, you're not gonna get the same question. So whatever question Mike gets might not be the same question, or Miles, sorry. My glasses are on my head. Might not be the same question as what Aurelius gets, so we're going to keep you on your toes.
All right, so I start out with the 1-minute introductions for everyone, so I got like 12 minutes to figure out what I'm doing. Okay, awesome. Okay, so Miles, you get to start with... I know, I can't, I gotta stand back here, so don't look at my boots and my socks. Miles, you get 1 minute to introduce yourself, and then we'll go down the line.
Let me test. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Hi, everybody. I'm Miles Beal. Actually, former Eastsider, rented a house over on Virginia Street for a good long time with my wife, Emily, who's over here. Relocated a couple years ago to the Groesbeck neighborhood. Very happy to be here talking with you. Like most of the candidates here, I'm running on a platform of public safety and affordability, be that better police response times, access to affordable housing, making sure our unhoused population has the ability to lead safe, secure, and dignified lives. The big thing that differentiates me is my call to hold the Board of Water and Light to a higher standard. I have made my career in energy efficiency for utilities and state programs. I'm uniquely qualified to tackle this issue. I'm looking for more creative and affordable rate design from the BWL. I'm looking for a subsidized citywide push for beneficial electrification, an end to the shutoff policy that we have, and more accommodating programs for people who are struggling to make their bill. Again, happy to be here with you. Look forward to your questions. Right on the nose, look at that. Oh, good job.
Good evening, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience, but for those of you I haven't had the privilege of introducing myself to, I am Aurelius Christian, candidate for Lansing City Council at large. Born and raised right here in Lansing, lived everywhere throughout the city, not out of choice, but more so out of necessity. I'm the son of a Marines Corps sergeant and a healthcare professional, and I am also a board member of the Allen Neighborhood Center, where we focus on food security, health equity, and community empowerment. Also serve on the Community Foundation Impact Grants Committee, supporting nonprofit organizations throughout the community, doing youth empowerment, things of that nature. And also was formerly the board secretary for the Ingham Community Health Center, where I served also alongside the health committee chair, homeless committee chair, Jody Washington, I thought I saw her here, a former First Ward council person. So excited to be here. I'm running because I love Lansing and want to continue to see it become empowered.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gloria Denning, and I am your candidate for Lansing City Council at large. I lived in Kalamazoo, but have moved it to Lansing from 1987. So my husband is originally from Lansing. I have a son and daughter that have been raised here, grandchildren. I have worked for the state legislature for 10 years, then moved to the federal legislature where I worked for U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow as a constituent service representative. My thing is the system is in place, guidelines, regulations, ordinances, but they're not there for everyone or to help everyone. And I want to let you know that the struggle is real, and I'm here to help you make and find a solution for those struggles, for those ones that need it.
Hi everyone, my name is Clara Martinez. I'm the dance director at Everett High School, a former AmeriCorps Vista, and a social worker and a proud union member. And the biggest reason I decided to run was not just because I was raised by a nurse and an educator, and they instilled a sense of service in me, but because of the experiences that I've had here in Lansing that have been really great, and also for my kids. So I want to see more opportunities for young people and for children. I want to have safe and healthy neighborhoods, and I also want to make sure that we have reliable city services, and I hope to earn your vote.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Okay, hi. My name's Nick Pigeon, just like the bird. I'm a lifelong Michigander, two-time Michigan State alum, and I live a couple streets down here from the Allen Neighborhood Center. And when my partner and I decided to move here, my partner of 10 years, Daniela, right here, we decided to stay in the community because you quickly become ingrained in the niche communities here, and the people here are lovely. And I believe Lansing deserves leadership who is willing to fight for our individual communities and our neighborhoods, not just funnel it to downtown and the politically connected. Before this, I was the executive director of the Michigan Campaign Finance Network, where I saw where a lack of transparency and where big money, what it could do to a community. And I've never been afraid to stand up to our state legislators or the politically elite. I deserve that. I think that Lansing needs leaders who are going to fight for people who have been paying and who have been paying more and more in their neighborhoods and are getting less and less and deserve the city services and the infrastructure that they've been fighting for. And I'm willing to stick up for them. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jonah Stone. I live here in Lansing in Rio Town. Just bought a house with my wife a couple years ago, and I'm a forensic scientist. I work down at the state police down south, and I really approach things as a scientist, and that's what I want to bring to the city council. I want to take analytical looks at the policies that the city council enacts. I want to focus on our housing problems with tried and true methods that other cities have tried and have succeeded in. And I want to beautify our parks. That's one of my main ideas. I really want more art on our parks. I want to keep up our river trail because it is the best thing about our city. And I moved to Lansing because my village is here, my family, my friends, my nephews are here, and I want Lansing to be a great place for them to live. Thank you.
Hi, friends. I'm Julie Vandenboom. I am a grassroots candidate for Lansing City Council at large. I'm a longtime Lansing resident. I graduated from Waverly High School in 1992, did my undergrad and master's degrees at Michigan State. I've lived in the city for about 25 years now, raised my son here, and he graduated from Lansing Public Schools. I am a board member of the Capital Area District Library, the Eastside Neighborhood Organization, Friends of Bancroft Park, as well as a startup nonprofit called A Place for Us, which is working on providing for our unhoused LGBTQ neighbors. I very deliberately have not sought out the endorsements of our Chamber of Commerce or our current mayoral administration because I do not believe that they are aligned with what is right for the people who live and work here in Lansing.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tierston Walters. I'm a candidate for at-large. I currently serve as an at-large member of the Lansing Park Board, as the vice chair and first ward representative on the Neighborhood Advisory Board, and as vice chair of the Ingham County Equal Opportunity Committee. I've had the pleasure of serving in those capacities, really, going to neighborhood meetings, meeting with our community, finding what their issues are, and I'm really running on a platform of working for our community and really being their voice on city council. So I'm really focused on ensuring we have safe, strong, and supported neighborhoods, ensuring our park system is bolstered and is one of the key parts of the city, focusing on our infrastructure, making sure our roads and sidewalks are passable, that they're in good shape and that they're not crumbling like they currently are. And I'm really excited to be here tonight. Thank you to the ENO for hosting, and let's get started.
Oh, sorry, we're still trying to figure this out. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to ask a random question because I know some of you are my friends, none of you are my enemies, and I would love to be friends with all of you, no matter what. But I'm going to just ask some random questions. So Miles called me up, and I think it starts with you, right? So you have a favorite number between 1 and 20? 8. Huh? 8. 8's the best number. So land bank auctions are available for everyone. Do you think there are better ways to handle this?
Yeah, I'm deeply concerned about large-scale private development taking over properties that should be going to folks who actually live here. I'm firmly in belief that if you live out of state and you're just looking to be an absentee landlord or developer, those properties are not for you. If you are a corporate developer looking to do the same, to add to your already oversized portfolio, those should not be for you. That's about all I need to say about it.
Are you giving your time to someone
I yield
else?
my time to you, Jimmy.
I don't know what the formal. See, look at my socks. I wasn't prepared for this. So now it's time to take one for the audience for the same candidate, or for.
No, it'll go down the line to a real.
Okay. So now it's a question from the audience. I have to choose the person? Oh my God. You raised your hand first. That's what I saw. I will definitely call you later.
What specific steps will you take to support emerging developers who are already investing in the neighborhoods that have been overlooked for years, but who often get left behind when it comes to access to resources and city support?
Thank you for the question. Supporting emerging developers is critical to continue moving Lansing forward. While we appreciate all the work that some of our more seasoned developers have, having the privilege to work with many emerging developers and create training opportunities across the community is something I've already done. And so I think that work will bear much fruit, because when we look at supporting community members, people who are passionate about continuing to redevelop our communities, I think that's important that they have access, that they have the resources, and that they have the necessary supports to be able to do that, whether that's technical assistance or financial assistance. I think we should be doubling down in that area and really being able to redevelop along our corridors and along our neighborhood nodes.
You and I. Thank you, Aurelius. All right, next up, you have a number between 1 and 20 that's not 8?
5.
5. So question 5, we have a huge homeless population, unhoused. Do you support developing an actual plan with the issue, and what would that be?
I think we absolutely, positively need a plan to help our homeless. To me, there should not be anyone unless it's by choice, homeless. It's really saddens me to know that we have homeless people. And when I see huge developers developing housing, additional housing and properties through downtown, through other places, and along with that, we also have buildings that are in huge need of repair, and we have homeless. It's not balancing out. Something really needs to be looked at and to figure out how we can help those who are homeless. I know it might be income related, employment issues, whatever, but we need to get in there, talk to the people that are homeless, find out what their issues are. Their voices matter. So we need to look at that and treat them as someone that needs assistance and as human beings, so that when it's winter or when it's hot, they don't have to have an emergency place to go, that they will have their own private place to lay their head, feel comfortable, and do what they would like to do in the privacy of their own home. So yes, we need help. I will take a look at that most diligently.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Ms. Denning. I want to make sure that I get all your name recognition out there. So now we have a question for the crowd for Clara Martinez. And are you going to pick them? All right. Nick.
The red tag crisis has been going way out of hand, especially recently, as the city of Lansing's been neglecting several houses, as well as the fact that several homeowners can't afford to either renovate their houses to prevent them from being red tagged, or worse, landlords have been getting away with not renovating their homes even though they have every reason to do so. What needs to be done to, one, help homeowners prevent their homes from being red tagged, and two, punish landlords who don't take care of their homes, because this has been piling up quite a bit, and there are several houses, at least in the old Everett neighborhood alone, like 7 at least, that are currently red tagged, and there are definitely way more from what I've heard. So what needs to be done?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. So working down at Everett and seeing some of the experiences that my students have with different housing that they have been in, something that their families have been in over time, I think that the best solution is to look at working with those who are in those positions that are having control over what those prices are set as, right? If we work as a social worker from a place of empowerment, wanting to strengthen the opportunities that our homeowners have to ensure that they have a high quality of life and dignity in their homes, then I think that if we're able to create policy and practices around that, that's the best that we can do. With regards to landlords, I think that we need to hold the landlords accountable. We also need to create paths for good acting landlords to be engaged as well. So I think that it's a matter of working with the current practices, reviewing them, and seeing what we can make better so everyone has a dignified life here in Lansing.
Thank you. All right, Nick. I've got this random number thing happening, but there's a question.
No, I got one between 1 and 20, and I got an explanation.
Why you like the
Okay,
number.
so my
But I'm
favorite...
going to ask somebody to answer question 14. I just want to make sure that's known, and that's going to be Julia. Will be the only person I force to.
Okay.
All right, so whatever.
Well, my favorite number is 19, and that's between 1 and 20, because kind of like us, we're aligned in alphabetical order, and in a class of a little over 30, I would usually get book 19, usually, from your... You get assigned books to be by number.
All right,
so it
fine.
was 19. So 19 is my
You're
favorite
about
number.
to get what you asked for.
That's right.
Will you support a no shut off for utilities, BWL, consumer, whatever, or just BWL because you might not have power over consumers?
Sure. Yeah, I absolutely support that. If we are going to make a stand in the city of Lansing and say, hey, the economic standpoint federally, we're not going to get a lot of help. The cost of living has never been higher. We need to take a stand in Lansing, say we're going to take care of our people, and we're at a position where we can, with a community-owned utility company. We need to take a stand and say, hey, we're not going to shut off our power on people. We're going to take care of our people. That's something that we can do. It's really a no-brainer. I'm not going to buy people saying it's going to cost too much to take care of our own people in Lansing. I think we can do it, and we're in a unique position in the city of Lansing to be able to do it, so I 100% support it.
Thank you, Nick. So, question from the crowd.
There is a large issue with speeding and all that going on in the city of Lansing. And I believe, I've been driving here for 40 years, I believe one of the reasons is because the lights are completely out of sync on all the major streets. And what do you think about, what do you envision as a way to solve that issue?
So for speeding, I know we had that crash that happened on as due to drag racing recently, and I really want to let the police do their jobs. And what I mean by that is I want to divert police funding to a crisis prevention team so that police can actually enforce the traffic laws in the city. What I really want is for speeding, and specifically reckless driving, going over 15 miles above the speed limit, very, very dangerous. I want that to be taken care of by the police, and I want them to be able to pull people over, give them tickets, and enforce the laws that we have set so that we don't have any more drag racing crashes in the middle of the night. It's terrifying, and people die because of it. And what I really want is for our police to be able to respond to violent crime and be able to issue citations for driving. And I want them to not be social workers. I want them to not be mental health professionals, in quotation marks, when they go out to a call. We need people to do that. We need specialized crisis response teams that are taken from the police budget. They already have social workers on staff. But what we need is more people to go out and help out with domestic violence issues, with mental health crises that are not police with guns. So I would really, really want for our streets to be safer, and I want Lansing PD to be able to issue citations for really dangerous driving. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonah. All right, Julie. I have the random number thing happening, but you're the last person that I can ask a specific question to. I'll give you your choice. The number I'm going to pick is 14. So is that an okay number for you if it's a bad luck number?
Yes, please.
It's okay?
Yes.
All right. I didn't set this up. I just want this question. I love this question, and you told me I could do that. All right. Recently, City Council approved zoning changes that would allow for more shared housing, including rooming and boarding houses, co-op housing, cottage development. She hand wrote some of her printer cut off the part, so sorry. And ADUs, accessory dwelling units. Do you support this strategy as one of the many to address the housing shortage? What additional zoning changes are needed? You do. What would you do to make sure the Lansing citizens are aware of these new opportunities?
Thank you. That's a great question.
Do you hate me?
No, it's a great question. I am fully on board with this idea of gentle densification or incremental development. The idea of taking where we have existing infrastructure and being able to carve out additional space for people to come and live. And that can look like a lot of different things. That can look like a boarding house. That can be one of our senior neighbors who maybe takes in a younger college student because they want to stay in their home, but they need help around the house. They can't clean the gutters anymore, those types of things. I fully support anything that we can do to create this, this incremental development. What was the rest of the question, Jerry?
It's basically, do you want to have zoning change to
Okay.
help support these types of issues?
Yes, so absolutely, I think we need to go ahead and do more of that type of changes. And I think you asked like how we can let people know about those changes as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that is an important part.
Yeah, I think anything that we could do, I would love it if we had it set up so I want to build a little granny thing in my backyard. I can go to the city and grab a plan that's already been approved. And then, you know, the permitting should be easy because this is a pre-approved plan. Anything that we can do to make it easier for folks to do this kind of incremental development of their own properties, I think we need to absolutely make that easy.
All right, thank you. And now the last question from the crowd, you got me, is for Tristan.
Oh, I got a mic this time.
Hey, affordable housing is just one piece. What's your plan to support residents and building real wealth through home ownership, financial education, or workforce support so they're not just surviving, but actually moving forward to independence? Like, everyone's talking about affordable housing, but I haven't heard anyone talk about, like, is there a step program that you're trying to introduce? Are we just gonna continue to let these people live a mediocre life and then end up homeless because they're not held to a standard and they're not given any extra like education or requirements? They're not held to a standard to live a better and more fruitful life.
All right, so thank you for the question. I think kind of the base of it is how do we empower our citizens in areas other than housing? And I think, you know, a lot of that has to do with job opportunity, ensuring that our small businesses are supported, that our businesses have areas that people can grow where they are. The state of Michigan's a great employer to have, but it's not the only employer to have. I don't think we should be focusing, you know, our downtown development on state employees. We should be focusing on trying to bolster those businesses to bring other people in. I think, you know, job opportunities are a huge part of that, ensuring people have the opportunity to be in a job where they can afford to live, where they can afford to utilize the great things that Lansing has to offer. I think that's one of the key pieces of that. Another focus would definitely be working with our youth and trying to empower them at a younger age as well. I think a great crossover is the Parks Department and the Neighborhood Advisory Board grants and department as well. So there's a lot of after-school programming that we have that can really work with students on tutoring and job skills and life skills, along with recreation and fun things, things like that. Also working with our neighborhoods to really empower people where they are. If you love your home, you love your neighborhood, we should have resources where you can work on your home, you can build your community where you are, and you can really focus on making it great for everyone in your area and the city as a whole. So that's another part of it where we really empower our neighborhoods, ensuring that they have spaces where they feel safe, where they feel supported, and where the city can really step in with even things as simple as a bulk trash cleanup once a year. Just something small that the city can do that we can focus on to really assist our community wherever we can. So those are a few things that, from a city perspective, I would definitely focus on. Housing's always an important one, ensuring people have somewhere where they can afford to live, where you don't have to work 2 or 3 jobs to afford where you are, where you can have some money, where you can really, you know, go to a Lugnuts game, where you can enjoy the great restaurants that we have, focusing on those things as well. So those are a few parts of it. It's obviously a multifaceted answer, so I tried to hit as many points, but thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten. I think that's the first time I pronounced your name right. I think my dyslexia gets into
I've been
my
called
way.
worse.
We'll see. Miles, you ready to start again? I guess we got to do this whole thing. Yeah. Oh, right. But I'm going to not let you pick this time because it's going to get complicated. I'm going to have to tell you so many numbers and all of that. So I'm just going to go down the list. What are your thoughts on LPD reserve officers and Lansing Fire Department medical taxis? I don't know that, understand that question either. Question,
I think I understand the question.
do you want to answer it then?
I could rephrase it
Go
and give him a
ahead,
shot.
Julie.
So the idea is that I've heard expressed from some folks here in Lansing is that there is a lot of work being done by the LPD.
This has to be your question. You're
What?
going too far.
Sorry.
She's doing
I'm
a great
sorry,
job.
Right? I think
I
this
don't-
should be your
I-
question. Are you okay
But
with that?
I don't want to. All right.
Have at it, Julie. You're doing a great job.
Okay. There's a lot. So the thought is that there's a lot of jobs that are being done in the police department that could be done by reserve officers instead of by the officers that are there right now. And if we could give some of this administrative work to folks that are not being paid like the full police wage, that it would be a savings for the police department. And then the idea behind medical taxis is that something like 60% of the ambulance calls right now are what they call nuisance calls. And my understanding is that is something that does not really need an ambulance and a fire truck and a fire chief to come out. It's something, it could be somebody that even stubbed their toe or had too much to drink and just needs to see a medical professional, but does not necessarily need an emergency vehicle to take them there. So that idea is the medical taxis is something that they do in Detroit, where you would not be having a full call out for a situation like that. And it should, if done correctly, if implemented right, it would be a substantial tax savings for us here in Lansing.
I blame it on the socks again. But this is actually perfect because now Miles can take crowd questions.
That's
and we're going to
perfect.
skip
Yeah,
you,
I didn't get
Julie.
one last time.
You okay with that? I think it was a great answer. And so now, who would like to ask Miles a question?
Is it appropriate that a mayor can? Okay. Okay, what is the vacancy factor line item on the budget and why is it problematic?
I got to tell you, I don't know.
You know, I can help with that.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's good.
Never mind. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Leftover money from staffing. Yeah. What do I think of it? I think that it's largely unnecessary. If you're holding funds back for staff that don't exist, you're immobilizing those dollars. And goodness knows, there's plenty of other budgetary shortfalls in the city where those funds could be diverted to make a positive difference. It's another one of those no-brainer kind of questions where you shouldn't be wasting funds, letting them kind of die on the vine when there's plenty of opportunity to make a positive difference elsewhere in the city.
I'm not saying his answer. I'm saying that was what your question was, right? All right. That was a mayoral question. That's why he knew all that. Should I skip and let Miles do another one? All right. Good job, Miles. All right. Aurelius, you ready for question number 1? What is the most significant, important issue, problem facing neighborhoods in Lansing today and what would you do to correct or solve the issue or the problem?
Yes, thank you for the question. As I've engaged the community for the last several years in every ward, going to neighborhood meetings, hundreds of community events, and obviously, as we all have, knocked many doors. One of the main issues that always seems to rise is infrastructure, so sidewalks, roads, things of that nature. And so, as somebody who just had to spend an undisclosed amount to fix my own suspension, it's a critical issue, and it certainly impacts, the everyday quality of life of everyone when you have unexpected expenses like that, and just contributes to the deterioration of community living here in the city of Lansing. And so it's certainly a huge issue and one of those issues that there's not enough money to solve. And so really being able to partner and collaborate with county stakeholders to access additional funding that is dedicated to roads and infrastructure is one thing that I would certainly prioritize, and really being able to prioritize where those improvements are focused because of the access and issues of that nature that, folks who have mobility issues or roads and sidewalks that are most traveled, really putting those at the forefront of addressing and just ensuring that advocacy is staunch and relentless to pull down dollars from both the federal and the state levels and target those strategically.
Thank you, Aurelius. The next question is from the crowd from Gloria Denning, or for Gloria Denning.
Hi, Gloria. I know you mentioned that you worked for Debbie Stabenow.
Yes.
I know that Senator Stabenow based a lot of her career on working in child abuse prevention. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you intend to support the citizens of Lansing in child abuse prevention efforts? Do you support tax credits, anything of that nature?
Wow. Let's see, because a lot of that is on a different level than the city. So you kind of took me up a little bit. So you said child abuse? Prevention. There should be, first of all, no child abuse. And I know that is that's a sensitive issue, and unfortunately, in the society that we have today, we deal with that. It's very sad that that's an issue, and it's something that, wow, it really needs to be reviewed, because there's a line between abuse and discipline for a lot of parenting skills. And with that being said, like I said, it's a very sensitive topic, but no child or person, human or whatever, should be abused. So there should be things in place to take care of that. And the other part of your question was in reference to taxes? As a person who recently got hit with a lot of taxes, as you grow older and your children grow older, you relinquish a lot of those tax credits. So there does need to be something looked at, and I can't really totally answer that until I'm inside to look at and review what's already in place. Could I give a complete answer full of integrity? So I would. Does that help?
Thank you, Ms. Denning. Next up, Clara Martinez. And I'm going right down the line, so you're question number 3 now.
Great.
Name one section of the city charter and the purpose of it.
Oh, name one. Can you repeat the question?
Name one section of the city charter. And it doesn't have to be section. There's clauses, sections.
Yeah, I'm not a good memorizer of specific things like that, but I guess I could talk about the role that the city charter plays with regards to where we're at and where we're going. So, in my experience in reviewing documents that I'm not necessarily good at memorizing, but I could work with, in front of me, I understand that we can decide together as a community what kind of experience we want to have, right? And how we want to move forward in defining what that experience is going to be. So for me, I think that it's about ensuring that we have safety for kids and also opportunities for them, but also proper infrastructure for those people to live out their lives here, and then also safe and healthy neighborhoods that we can thrive in. So maybe that's an esoteric take on your question.
It's not, and I actually cringed when I started reading the question, and I promise you this is random, and that was a tough question right there. You all should be asked this question at some point. All right, so next up, how we doing, Nick? You ready
Great.
for a crowd question?
So mine is just random. It just dawned on me. I took my children to a park, walked them to the park. She's 4, the youngest one is 2, and it was an old school. I can't remember the name of it, but at that park there was a slide. It hadn't been taped off. It was busted up, holes in it. Had my kids slid down that slide, they would have definitely been hurt. And then I realized there isn't a single park within walking distance, and I live in Colonial Village, that I can take my kids to and actually swing on a swing or slide down a slide. What do you intend or plan to do as far as making these parks more accessible?
Sure, absolutely. And listen, I think that our Parks and Recreation Department has a lot of parks to deal with, right? And that's one of the things that bring people to our city. People in Lansing are looking for outdoor recreation spaces, and obviously we identify ourselves as a tree city and things to do that a lot of other cities don't offer, right? And so, we have a lot of parks to put up with. I think in the most recent budget there was an increase in things we could do. I know that they recently put out a really good survey asking people what issues. I know that Tirsa could probably talk a lot more about this, but I think they're doing a lot. There's of course a lot of infrastructure problems across the city that we've been talking about, right? The roads and then our city parks. And if we want people to come to the city, we got to make sure the parks are safe. We got to continue to be talkative and speak up to our parks department to let them know the problems that we are having so they can fix them, because it costs a lot to maintain the number and level of parks that we have in the city. But I definitely hear your concern. Sure. Yeah. And, of course, in Lansing, we see money, being focused in areas where, more wealthy people are, more, politically elite people are. We've seen that. And that's in other cities too. But, Lansing is large, and we have a lot of parks. We need to serve the most underserved first. We need to put a priority on that. We're already doing that in our latest budget with some of the road and local road funding. We need to put that language more across things, right? In our most underserved communities, putting the money there first. That's what the people deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. All right, Jonah.
Hit me.
Do you attend or do you watch the City Charter Commission meetings? And if so, what are your thoughts about it? And if not, I might give you another question. You
Okay,
can't just say yes or no.
Yes, I have watched them. Going forward with the new charter, there are a few things that I disagree with. The difference, I really think that Lansing needs more representation for its people, not less. So lowering the amount of people on the city council is not a good idea. So what I want to have is only one at-large seat, and I want to have more seats that represent our neighborhoods. So I live in Ward 1. And it's massive. It encompasses so much. I'm in Rio Town. It encompasses so much. And I would love someone who represents Rio Town's interests. Getting that big vacant apartment building on the corner of Hazel and Washington. I really want that to be sorted out because when I walk by it, it makes me, honestly, it just infuriates me. And I know a lot of people are infuriated by these red tag buildings and landlords only being charged $150 a month for a 80-unit apartment building. But that's what we need. We need more representation on the council from neighborhoods so that the people of Lansing have more of a say and not less. That's really a bad idea to have less representation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jonah. All right, Julie. Nancy's going to hit you with a question. Is that right?
Oh, boy.
Okay. A lot of our neighborhoods are facing problems with liquor stores popping up on every single corner. No joke. Do you think there should be a better working relationship and input with the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, the mayor, city council, and the neighborhoods before these licenses are granted?
Absolutely, yes. And I've heard from folks in multiple neighborhoods, and I think especially we go back to what we just heard at City Council Monday night, Adam Hussein sharing the what the liquor control, the Michigan Liquor Commission or Control, whatever their name is, it sounds like they flat out were telling lies in this hearing that, and I know Adam and Ryan and other members of council are trying to fight back against some of this predatory, and it's predatory. You see where the liquor stores are, you see which neighborhoods they're in. You don't see a surplus of liquor stores in Groesbeck or over on Moores River Drive. So I think it's I would like to see us, and I think it's going to take a concerted effort. I think a lot of people are going to have to form a coalition to take this and figure out, and I don't know if it's going to involve Sarah Anthony or Emily Devendorf or getting our state lawmakers involved as well. But yeah, I think that it is absolutely something that we need to address in this city.
Thank you, Julie. Thurston, first time in my life I've said your name right. Thurston? All right, first time in my life, Thurston. It's the socks again. I got a question for you. How will you make sure that issues related to the environment, to soil, to everything that protects our earth and what we breathe and eat and all of that, how will you make sure they stay on top of the list in our city government?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Just a quick aside, I'd love to hear more about the broken slide in a park. And if you're in Colonial Village, Holly Park might be a good spot for swings and a slide. Just a quick one on that. But in terms of environmental stewardship, I think the city can really take a better role in that. While we don't have direct control over what BWL does, I think really assisting them with whatever the city can and ensuring we move toward a more green future, renewable energy path that's really going to assist the city not take up as many of the fossil fuel energy creation and things like that. And that's part of it, working with our energy producing company that is a municipal entity is really trying to work with them on ensuring they're not doing what they've done previously for pollutants to be released. Also focusing on really remediating what has been done. I look over at the Racer project over in the west side where they've had a lot of issues with what they want at that property, but then remediation has to be taken over there, and certain places have to have concrete. So I know they're working with the neighborhoods over there to try and get a little bit of both where they have the remediation and what the neighborhood's looking for. I think working with our neighborhoods, they know best of what they want in their neighborhoods, and they don't want contaminated soil, they don't want contaminated air, and they want to have a neighborhood that's clean, that they can really thrive in, that they don't have to worry about getting health issues down the road just from where they live. So that's part of it. City Council specifically, I think our environmental sustainability office could really be bolstered, really working with them on focusing on how we can do those things. My major at Michigan State was environmental geography, so I've got a real focus on the environment and how it impacts and really how our urban centers can really be doing better in that role.
Thank you. Kirsten. Got it right?
You got it.
All right. So now I think what we're going to do is 1 minute closing, and then we're done with the city council at large. Is that right? Or we got to skip something? Okay. Then let's start over. You want one from the crowd or from me? I'll screw it up.
Let's see, Jared. What do you got?
I got would you agree or disagree that the city attorney should be an elected position? And please explain.
Yeah, I absolutely think the city attorney should be an elected position. I'm in favor of many of our public officials being directly elected by the people. Having people who are just appointed means that they are corruptible and influenceable by whether it's the mayor, whether it's large development corporations, whether it's private business interests. It's a problem that can be avoided through direct representative elections.
Thank you. You want me or the crowd? All right. Challenging me. All right. Didn't you beat me in that cold bus race or something like that?
I did.
What do you think your role as an at-large council person is, or will be, or should be?
Sure, thank you for the question. So, by definition, a council member, whether it's ward or at large, is responsible, a steward, a fiduciary of the city budget, passing ordinances, really leading the legislative body of the city. But to me, I believe that true council members should be representatives of the people. One who is a listening ear and a voice that does amplify the voice of the people. And so for me, it's about being accessible. It's about being, somebody who's connected to the community and somebody who works diligently on behalf of the community.
Thank you. I got in trouble for making my own questions and not asking the crowd. So can we go to the crowd for you? Are you okay with that? I don't really care about getting in trouble.
Let's hear the question first, and then I'll tell you if I'm okay with it. No, I'm just kidding.
Who would like to ask Ms. Denning a question? Nick?
So there's a proposal on the ballot in August to continue the millage for the parks, and I'm asking about this because someone who's running for office, not going to name names, obviously, for obvious reasons, has said something about how it would be a waste of taxpayer money to vote yes, which is, in my opinion, kind of BS. So I want to ask you this question in the least biased way I can say. Would you vote yes to continue the mileage for parks, and for what reason?
You just put me in a controversial question. But parks are a part of neighborhoods, part of our city, and people need places to go. One thing about Lansing that I've found is we need to make sure that we have activities and environments for all ages. I support parks. I support places of entertainment because it's important. Because if you keep places that are nice and well kept and safe, then people will feel comfortable going there. But if they don't, then you're opening up the doors, I believe, for malicious activities or other things where you're creating an unsafe environment. So, yes, I would love to have parks better, greater, and other areas safe. I have children, my children are older, but I have grandchildren, and I would love to be able to take them places, actually open ones where I don't have to pay a fee necessarily for them to go into. So public parks, accessible, I would support that.
Thank you. I don't know if I have the mic. So Clara, we're going to go to the crowd again. And
Hi. So I have done homework on all of you, and I've seen your Facebooks and your websites.
And some of you have knocked on my door, including Clara, who left a note on my door. I appreciate that. My question is, I pulled everyone's attendance records from the committees that they serve on for the city, and attendance is a big issue for me. The attendance record available for the board that you serve on currently, Clara, you've missed 7 of the 10 meetings. So my question is, how will we know going forward, if you're on council, that you will be able to make those meetings? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. So I think that you're referring to the Lansing Arts and Culture Commission, right? So that is something that I've served on since 2018 as the Mayor's Arts and Culture Commission. During that process, there were 33 people appointed by the mayor to begin to oversee, what could this look like, having arts and culture engaged from a municipal standpoint, right? And so as a person who is a dance educator, and I've worked at the state and national level with regards to arts education initiatives and ensuring that they're free and accessible to everybody, I've been able to serve within the capacity of not only the mayoral appointed board, but now the city board. So it's been interesting to see that process go from where there have been experts that live outside of the city, right? But now we've come into residents serving within that. So I think that it's been really, really important and impactful work. And I'm really proud of the transition that I led as the co-chair of the 33-person body. We've created multiple different arts and culture reports over what is valued in the city with regards to arts and culture. And I've been able to meet a lot of really great, innovative people who are thinking very critically about municipalities and how we're engaging arts and culture the arts and culture sector. So I think that, attendance is really interesting, especially as a teacher, as someone who's served on a board for almost, 8 years. A lot of the time, my students, if they have issues that come up, I always think about what is the depth of the work that they're doing, right? So am I more interested in someone who's attended every meeting, but maybe their input hasn't been very deep or very beneficial? Is that impactful?
Thank you, Clara. All right, Nick, I'm going to pick one for you. Okay. You okay with that?
Yes.
What policies will you support to make Lansing more pedestrian and biking friendly?
Sure. Well, I've been walking, talking to neighbors since January, and let me tell you, there is a split. There's a lot of people who want to remain in their neighborhood and be able to shop locally, right? So I'm lucky on the east side that I could shop for my groceries at Westlands, right? There's a lot of other neighborhoods that don't have, the same pleasure, and so I think we do need to invest in neighborhood-specific local businesses, especially in some of our corridor projects, where people can walk to. That's super important. On the flip side, I have spoken to a lot of people outdoors that one of their main issues is that parking is not free downtown. They don't go downtown because they can't park. They're going to drive everywhere there too. We're really mixed in that aspect, but I think we can service both. I think what it starts with is that, listen, what I think is really unique about Lansing is that we have a very strong sense of community in our individual enclaves, the east side, right, west side. And there's people who, of course, just want to drive to everything. And then there's also people who really want more local boutique shops and stores that they could patronize as opposed to going downtown. I think that increasing bike lanes on the street would be very helpful. Not some of the things we've done on the sidewalks, I think, is kind of dangerous. I think people come to Lansing, some of them because they can actually enjoy neighborhoods that are more localized, and they have stuff to do with our parks and recreation in the area. So it's making it more walkable in our individual neighborhoods, but also, having infrastructure for people to drive to things too is very important to a lot of people in the city.
Thank you, Nick. Jonah, I'm going to pick from the answer, and then the next two will be for the crowd. Or from
Sounds
the
good to
list.
me.
Is that all right?
Yep.
So how will you work to promote a rapid and just transition to renewable energy with Lansing Board of Water and Light? And specifically, we keep saying one more gas plant for General Motors or whatever.
Right. Well, what I think we need to do is encourage BWL to fund people getting more electric heating in their homes. That will both increase the amount of revenue that BWL can generate, which will lower bills. And once people have electric heating, that is a lot better than the natural gas that I know heats my home and heats a lot of people's homes. So it may be cheaper right now to do natural gas in your home, but if we can get a across-the-board electric heating throughout the city or in many different homes, bills will go down, and BWL will have more power and more of a revenue base for them to fund things like solar panels, wind turbines. I know my roof is massive. It goes all the way up to I have a tiny lot, but my roof is really tall. So solar panels would be great on my roof, but some people have big old trees. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that you can do, like funding high efficiency water heaters, funding high efficiency heat, and electric heat is really the biggest thing. But I have a high efficiency water heater in my house. It's great, and if BWL can help people fund that and help new constructions fund things like that with renewable energy in mind, rooftop solar, rooftop wind turbines on these new developments that are going downtown, I think that our energy will become more renewable, and BWL will become more of like a community centered utility, and we don't have to deal with things like people who have DTE, dude. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, Julie, we got a person in the crowd. Yeah, I get to pick now? May I pick someone else? All right. Someone else did put their hand up.
This is actually a question that I want all of you to think about. But Julie, you get to be the recipient. What would you do to be more accessible and available to your constituents, the community that you serve? And are you willing to set consistent deadlines to reply to them with solutions or paths forward? And I say this because many of us try to get a hold of our council members, our mayor, and we're either met with a phone line that you can't leave a message with, which I think has been recently revamped a little bit, interestingly enough, in an election year. No surprise there. So what would you do to be more accessible and available to your constituents? And are you willing to set consistent deadlines to reply to them with solutions and paths forward? So something like that might look like I'm going to answer an email in 36 hours, or I'm going to return a phone call in 36 hours, and consistently stick to that.
So for me, Ryan Cost has set the gold standard for how a council member can be responsive. He and Adam have been just outstanding. And I think back to Carol Wood as well, as an example of an at-large council representative who, while I did not always agree with her politically, she had the reputation that she would respond. And I think that is the model that I want to pursue as a council representative. I like this idea of having a deadline. I don't know how much, so I don't know how many emails Ryan gets in a 24-hour period. He's walking the other way. I think taking a look at the workload, and this is the way I operate at work today and the way I operate in my personal life. I get back to people right away, because if I don't, it sits in my head and I am awake all night. So I absolutely want to make that a priority. And I will commit to setting that type of a deadline for myself after I know what the workload looks like and how many emails I'm going to need to be responding to on a daily basis. This is a great question, and thank you.
All right. Last question from the crowd. Kirsten, I'm going to give it to someone else. You asked like 17 questions already. And I saw your hand first, so I'm coming to you. Yes.
So would you like more open-ended creative question or something more specific? I have two in mind, so.
Whatever you're feeling.
Okay, well, so it's important, obviously, that Lansing stays Lansing, and it shouldn't be a copycat city towards anything else. But for your personal opinion, is there a city, whether state, federal, state, nationally, or even internationally, that you see is doing something, whether it's a program, fixing a problem, or anything like that, that you say, again, not copying that kind of initiative, but you think that Lansing can either implement or kind of take influence of, and why?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. I know the mayor's favorite line is good mayors come up with things, but great mayors steal. I think that's a good thing to have when you have cities that have fixed problems. I mean, why reinvent the wheel when someone's done it already? I think looking in Michigan, I know that Flint has done a great job recently trying to pivot to being more of like a college-centered town. I look at Ann Arbor's housing policies, and they seem to be doing a lot to assist renters and landlords in housing policy. I look at Grand Rapids and all the development and how fantastic that they're doing with a lot of the entertainment side. Those are all things just in Michigan that I've really seen from other cities that I'd like to try and move Lansing to. We have a huge university down the street. I'd love to try and connect that section on the east side and make that a little more college level. I'd love to make downtown a little more like Grand Rapids, where we have our entertainment sector and it's bustling at all hours of the night. I'd love our housing to look like similar to what other cities have done to try and relieve and increase density wherever they can. I think being a capital city, we always have to look at the other Midwest capital cities. I look at, Columbus is doing great things. Minneapolis has a lot going for it. I also look at something like Austin, Texas, where it's another capital city with a very large state university right down the road. So all of those are places that I see great things happening that I think Lansing could do well to try and move a little bit towards, to look at what's working there and to really bring that to Lansing. Any very specific policies? I don't really have anything, very specific. My focus has kind of been on Lansing for the last few years when I've really been going to the neighborhood meetings, meeting with the community, seeing what they've been looking for. But yeah, I'd love to look at anything everyone else is doing and seeing what works and bring that to Lansing to help the residents here.
Thank you, Kirsten. Is this still on? Okay. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, everybody, for taking the randomness and all of this. Oh, the mic's coming back to you. So now, each of you have 1 minute for a closing statement, and that's that, right?
We're good. I just want to thank everybody for showing up today, taking time out of your day, carving up your schedule to make time for this, offering up your intention and engagement. I sincerely appreciate it. It really shows how much you care, and I hope that from this you've taken away that I also really care. I love this place. It's my home, and I desperately want to help us make it the city that we know it can be. And in the spirit of goodwill, I'd also like to say thank you to everybody up here sharing the stage with me. I really hope that I can count on your support in August, but I hope you feel as confident as I do as a citizen and as a voter that there's more good choices than bad choices up here today. So however things shake out in the primaries and in the general, we're probably going to be in okay hands. Thank you.
So being born and raised in Lansing, going to Eastern High School, go Quakers for any of the Quakers in the house? Yes, sir. Graduating from Michigan State University. As I grew up, I was always, hearing negative sentiments about, there's nothing to do in Lansing, Lansing's not this, Lansing's not that. And I always had friction internally with that statement. And many people think that the grass is greener on the other side, but I'm a firm believer that the grass is greener where you water it. And so for me, for the last several years, I've been watering the grass of Lansing, serving in so many capacities and dedicating myself to see the betterment of Lansing. And that's my focus as a candidate for Lansing City Council at large, is to ensure that every corner of the neighborhoods are safe and supported. Businesses can grow and thrive here, and people can choose Lansing, and that opportunity and safety both go hand in hand, and Lansing can be a thriving community. And so I'm appreciative of the time and the opportunity to share more and meet residents here. Vote Aurelius Christian, August 5th.
So, what I would like for you to take away is my heart. I worked in constituent services, as I stated, for over 30 years. And prior to that, I always worked with the public. I have a heart for the people, to serve the people, to help the people, whether it's in a crisis or whether it's just a solution that they're trying to obtain and they're having difficulty with. I am here for you, to listen, to genuinely listen. And to the question was asked about your availability. That was something that has been instilled in me. The availability, the quick responses to the constituents, because your voices matter. And without you, we wouldn't need a position. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So again, my name is Clara Martinez, or Clara, if you speak Spanish. As a teacher, as a social worker, as a proud union member, my priorities are set for opportunities for kids and how we can do that as a municipality. If we have safe and healthy neighborhoods, those kids will stay after high school and college and thrive here. And then if we continue to have exemplary city services and make them even better, we'll have the proper infrastructure and livelihood for a strong city. I intend to lead with compassion and grace. And something I've learned about being a teacher is knowing how to deal with bullies and people that assume things about anyone else. And so I'm well trained in bullying and bullying prevention, and I intend to lead with grace and professionalism. And as a Latina, I'm often underestimated, and that I hope you don't underestimate me. So please vote for me August 5th or before.
All right, thank you so much for coming. And listen, I started walking around the community talking to people door to door since January, and it's almost a consensus that people tell me, listen, I think we're moving in a wrong direction as a city, and we've been paying more and more, and we feel like a lot of the resources of the city are going to developers, and they're not coming back to our neighborhoods, and we've been paying property taxes and rent for decades. I have a demonstrated history in my former role of sticking it to power structures. I think the city of Lansing has a lot of power players that have a lot of influence on a lot of city council. The mayor is already spending money in this race. I'm not afraid to stand up for what I've heard from doors and put truth to power and actually put that into practice. I'm not afraid to stand up to the politically elite, and that's why I think you should vote for him. Nick Pigeon. Thank you.
Hi there. So I want to take this time to highlight 3 things that I want to do with Lansing. I would love to further fund our parks. We have an amazing resource in our parks and in our river trail. I walk the river trail every single day with my dogs and with my wife. And I love our parks so much that we really need to focus on them, beautify them. I want to contract with local artists to paint and sculpt and beautify our parks so that our crowning jewel of the city is better. Second, I would love to get money from the police department towards that crisis management system. And third, I would really, really like to get our red tag buildings down and either fixed up or demolished, and really we just need to deal with those. So my name is Jonah Stone. I'm a forensic scientist, and I am a political novice, but I really would love to serve you as Lansing City Council member.
I'm Julie Vandenboom. Once again, consider myself a grassroots candidate. I don't have a lot of rich friends, and I have not asked for money from a lot of PAC money. I will be a leader who leads with empathy and compassion. I have made an effort to knock on, I just jotted it down, I'm at 3,583 doors that I've hit since March. I'm trying to hit 5,000 doors before the primary. If I have not yet knocked on your door, look out for me. I'll try to get there. Please, anybody that's watching this or anybody that's in the audience, my website is julievandenboom.com. My email address is julie@julievandenboom.com. Reach out to me. You can also go online and get my phone number, text me or call me. I would love to hear from you. I want to represent the people that live here in Lansing.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Serving on the park board, I've had the opportunity to work on getting funding and working through and overseeing the grant match program through the park board, working through CIP deliberations, working on constituent issues with slides that are broken or parks that aren't mowed. With the neighborhood advisory board, I've really had the opportunity to work with neighborhoods on the neighborhood grant programs, working in community engagement, going to countless community cleanups. I know Julie and I could probably count on multiple hands how many bags of trash we've cleaned up this summer. So those are a few things I've done. On the Equal Opportunity Committee, I've had the opportunity to work on increasing the vendor pool so it's more representative of Lansing. These are a few things that I've done in my volunteer role. I've gone to countless neighborhood meetings over the last few years. I've really had a good opportunity to meet the residents, to really see where they're coming from, to really see where they want the city to go. And I'm really looking forward to having the opportunity to serve as a city council member and to work on citywide issues that everyone is concerned about and really focusing on the residents and how we can move Lansing forward. Thank you.
All right. So, first of all, thank you all so much for coming and participating in this tonight. Thank you all so much for having the courage and the capacity and even the will to go up against what you're about to go up against. It is a special person that does that, and please give them a hand for this. And then everybody in the room, you all, and you all, thank you for participating in our democracy. It is an important step. I know that we have a lot of neighbors that do not have the capacity to do this, so please go home and tell them something. Knock on your neighbor's door and just tell them what you learned. Help them build the capacity to participate in our democracy. And I express nothing but love for all of you. Whether you think you did good or you did great or you did bad or whatever it was, in my eyes, you all did great and you all did great. We're going to take a 5-minute break and get set up for the mayoral part. And I don't think I'm going to have time to change my socks, but I'll go outside.
Okay, if I can get everybody's attention and please find a seat, we'll get started.
Mute your phones. I'm just kidding.
Okay, we're going to get started with our mayoral candidates. We're going to have basically the same rules that we had for the at-large. We're going to alternate questions. We have written questions, and we'll take questions from the audience. Please keep your answers directed to the questions. No personal attacks. Everyone is here to listen to your viewpoints on the topics that are presented. So I'm going to turn it over to Jerry, and we're going to have a 1 minute, where's my thing? 1 minute opening statement, and then we'll have the questions to the candidates for 2 minutes, and then a 1 minute closing statement.
I am going to start out by saying that Brett Brock-Smith, David Ellis, Kelsey Hector, and Mayor Andy Shore are here, and I respect all of you. I am not going to use the title Mayor Andy Shore tonight. I'm going to say Andy, I'm going to say Brett, I'm going to say David, and I'm going to say Kelsey. And I don't mean any disrespect to any title or anything, but let's keep it a little bit real, if everyone's okay with that. So, we're going to start with you tonight, Brett. You okay with that? All right. And everyone has a 1-minute introduction. Okay?
Okay. Hi, my name is Brett Brockschmidt. I was born and raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Went to Michigan State, got a degree in finance and administration. Spent 30 years as an accountant and analyst in business management, which I think will suit me well for running the government and looking into the deep, dark corners of the budget. I have lived here for 5 years now. I am the owner of a duplex. I take care of my duplex. I'm a good landlord, but I'm also well suited to explain to people how increase in taxes lead to increases in rent. And a few other things, and since time is running out, I will just yield the microphone.
Hi, my name is David Ellis, and I am a downtown resident of Lansing. I was born at Ingham Regional. I lived on Sycamore and then moved to Walnut, so I have spent my entire life in the downtown area of Lansing. I graduated from Grand Ledge, unfortunately, after spending almost all of my time in school at Lansing School District, and then I was an alumni from LCC. I got into Lansing politics after having an accident with a car where I was hit on a bicycle that sort of sent me down the rabbit hole of learning about what goes into infrastructure, and then that graduated into learning about city finances and taxes and how our built environment actually influences every aspect of our lives. This is about the most important thing that affects you on a daily basis, and that is why I am here today.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Hector. I started my career as an educator. I taught middle school science. And yes, I love them. It is the best grade to teach, and no, kindergarten is not. I then moved kind of back into nonprofit. I'm currently the executive director of Punks with Lunch. I'm the operational director of the Tenant Resource Center, and I do a lot of boots on the ground work at places like Dietrich Park, different encampments around town. I wasn't door knocking this past week because I was actually handing out water and Gatorade to everyone because it's been very warm. I love Lansing. I was born and raised in Eaton County. And I came here for community, and I kept coming back because this place is special, and I can't wait to see what future we can create together.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Andy Shore. I am currently the mayor. This is my 8th year, so I'm running for a 3rd term. It has been a tremendous honor to serve you all as the mayor. We've just done a ton. Well, first about me, I've lived here almost 30 years. I did not grow up in Lansing, but I chose to live in Lansing. I love this city. Fell in love with it as soon as I moved here to work, and still love it every day. We are one of the most incredible cities, diverse. So many things with nature and with the built environment. Anyway, I'll talk about most of this tonight, but my platform continues to be about growing our city. Economic development and investments throughout our city, south side, east side, west side, downtown, north side, public safety, reducing crime and making sure that we have the assets out there to do that. Roads and infrastructure, and I hope we get into that so we can talk about why neighborhood roads are so bad and continue to be so bad. So thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you for the introductions. If you guys want to do this anytime, go ahead and do that. You can clap, you can cheer, whatever. If you were here for the previous candidates format, we kind of did question from me, question from the crowd, and all of that. What I'm going to do this time, question from me, question from the crowd, and kind of go every other person. Then when Andy is answering the question from the crowd, I'll immediately ask him a question from me, and we'll come back so that everybody gets a crowd and a question from me. So I'm going to start with you tonight, Brett. And the first question is, there are many empty buildings along our major streets. What is the plan to deal with what could be potential blight?
I think that we need to have more penalties and fines for empty buildings, and landlords should not be able to wait for the highest possible rent. I think that's kind of the plan. And we need to try and make it easier for people and businesses to get loans for improvement and buying property and renovating them. And be that a city program or working with banks and other institutions, we definitely need to do something to clean it up.
Okay. Now, David gets a question from the crowd. So who would like to ask David a question? Nick.
So there was a car accident on MLK Boulevard, not too far from the Old Everett neighborhood, because of a drag racing and street racing incident, which I think caused at least one person to lose their life, and as well as causing several injuries, and it crashed right into a food truck. So my question is, what needs to be done to prevent car accidents like this from happening in the future?
Right, thank you for the question. So a big issue with especially our MDOT controlled roads in the city of Lansing is that they're built to very, very extreme dimensions. They're built to almost freeway standards. And so when you're building freeways, you get freeway speeds. I've been on record multiple times saying that you cannot educate or police your way out of bad designed road. The only thing you can do is design a good one. When you have a road where people are speed racing, drag racing like that, we need to redesign the road in a way where that is just not physically possible. You can do this without dramatically affecting commuter speeds. This is not something that's going to be ruining your commute to and from work. But things like roundabouts at intersections have been shown to both speed up car throughput at the intersection, so it will actually speed up your commute, but also it prevents people from just racing through there. Also, issues of widening road widths with wider lanes encourage higher speeds as well. So that's something that I would be pushing on, especially our locally owned roads, but hounding MDOT to restrict as well. And then finally, getting more police action on the south side as far as actually ticketing people who are going egregiously over the speed limit. But it does not have to start with police. It needs to finish with police. We need to start from the ground up with focusing on designing infrastructure that is actually safe for us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, David. So next up to Kelsey is a question from me. What would prevent you from, what would prevent you from funding staffing and equipping LPD, LFD, public services, and parks at 100% of best practices before funding anything else? So what would you fund above the police department, the fire department, the public service, and parks?
So I think first and foremost, no one ever wants, a firefighter to be absent from a call. And so nothing really comes above that fundamental service. I do think that local police, we can divert some of that funding to go into more social work and response teams, especially because when we have social worker police officers under the chief of police, I think that creates a dynamic where there's not accountability and there's not that separation. I think that as far as the other vacant positions, we really need to look at not only why are they vacant? Talk to the people that are in the departments to figure out exactly what they need. Do they need that position to fill a gap? Are they overburdened? Do they feel burnt out? And finding solutions and seeing, is the barrier because we're putting the standard too high for who we want in that position? Because given the chance and training and opportunity and trust, we don't need to have a huge accessibility issue when it comes to those positions. Otherwise, I think that the things that we kind of already have been funding, especially the gun violence prevention programs and other things like that, are very, very important for our community, and looking at community-centered solutions. And so before we ask or I tell you what I want to fund over anything else, that should be a conversation that's held in rooms with the communities in which they're affected. And so I'm not going to know all the answers. I live on the east side. I know my neighbors in my community. I know the places that I work with clients and participants. And so really this is a question, or the answer really lies in what does the community see fit for their own neighborhoods, and then figuring out a way to make that happen.
Thank you, Kelsey. And now to Andy will be from the crowd. And here, I'll just do it.
So my question is very similar to Nick's, but in a different kind of method. My question, so let me lead up to it. So a lot of the major arteries, the lights are timed to literally stop you at every light. I have a degree in math. And one of the projects that we did in linear algebra was to actually design a like a small grid. It wasn't very large. So I guess my question is, given that, what do we do about the road rage? About people that race up to lights, or just run through them, and I'm not just. I mean, one accident out of 40 years, where one person died. I mean, that people die all the time. So what do we do about the road rage to keep people flowing, keep people moving, so they don't feel like they have to speed?
So we can. I can't change someone's being angry that day. On road rage, but when it comes to speeding, we've been trying to do a lot of different things on a lot of different streets. This isn't just about MLK, this is about many of our streets. I actually agree with Mr. Ellis, who talks about that it's the structure of the road. You have roads that are built that are basically straightaways, and people are going to go as fast as they want. On an MDOT road, they can go 45 miles an hour. On most of our roads, it's 35 miles an hour on Cedar, Pennsylvania, and the parts that are ours. There are a variety of things we can do and that we are doing. We are ticketing where we can. Something like 800 tickets in the first few months. I know people are getting ticketed because I know people personally who've gotten ticketed. But you can't ticket your way out of everybody speeding, and you can't sit a police officer on every street corner. We just don't have the manpower. We couldn't have it. Nobody can. So I think that looking at structures of the roads, we are looking at traffic circles, which cost about $1.5 million each. So we're applying for grants for those. We're looking at the possibility of reducing lanes. When some roads, you've got 2 lanes on each side. MLK is a good example. There are cones there right now because they're putting in pedestrian islands, which is another idea that hopefully will help to slow people down. But the cones are there, and if you drive down MLK now, people are driving slower because the cones are there. Well, what would that look like with the shrunk down road? Now, I support that, and I think the neighbors in that area support that. I'm sure that the people who are coming in and leaving our city who are not from here won't like it, but honestly, I don't care. So we have to make sure that it's safe. The last piece that I have been very supportive of are called red light cameras. Cameras that are on top of a light. If you blow through the light, you get a ticket sent to you. If you are speeding, you can get a ticket sent to you. The problem is it's not legal in Michigan. My buddy who's the mayor of Providence, he said that it slows people down. They also use it for noise violations. It is a great solution, but we're not allowed.
Thank you, Andy. So now the question is still to you from me, or not from me, from wherever these questions came from. I have no questions tonight. Oh my God. What is your position on the proposal regarding the Lansing Fire Department retiree contribution healthcare?
Sure. It's an unfortunate situation, and it's a very difficult situation. In 2014, the Lansing, the IAFF, the firefighters signed a contract with the city, and the contract says that as soon as healthcare costs for retirees and employees go above the state-mandated hard cap, the retirees pay the balance. It went over years after they signed the contract, and the city missed it. But as soon as the city caught it, we have to enforce the contract. So basically, by law, I can't, as mayor, none of us as mayor could say, no, we're going to ignore that provision. So the retirees have to be paying everything above the mandated hard cap. Now, that being said, the problem is I want to try and help them because I want to try and soften the blow. So we're having conversations, but the IAFF does not represent the retirees. The retirees don't have representation. So we're talking to a variety of the retirees to see if there's a way we can get together and what we can do lawfully. I don't want to see their costs go up any more than anyone else. I also, neither I nor council nor anyone on this panel can unilaterally change a contract that was passed in 2014. Why it was passed that way, I don't know. Other unions actually have limits on the amount that retirees have to pay, but the firefighters don't. So I was not there. And that's really, we're going to do whatever we can within the scope of the law and then try and help out those folks. We can't just write them checks. These are private citizens, many that don't live in the city. We can't just say, we're going to give you money. So how can we help to soften that blow, understanding that this is a legal contract that they signed, that their members signed, that city council passed, and all that language is in the resolution and in the contract. And we actually are willing to provide that language to anyone, because I know there are people that are alleging that we are not reading the language correctly. This is what our attorneys have said, and we've got nobody else that has given us legal opinions otherwise.
Thank you, Andy.
You got it.
Now a question for Kelsey from you all. We already have someone? Okay. Any questions from the crowd for Kelsey? Okay. I'm going to go to, sorry, Belinda first. That's okay.
Hi, well, first of all, I'm going to say, boy, I'm impressed. You taught science to middle school, right? Yes. Well, recently, the city mowed down all my milkweed. And part of it was on the city easement. And a friend of mine and we went to a lot of trouble to neaten it up. And I talked to the guy that was doing the mowing. And I'm wondering what you could do to try to educate the people more in code enforcement about pollinators. And I mean, you don't totally control those laws, but you seem like you must have a firm hand if you've been a teacher, but I wouldn't want to take you on. But anyhow.
Oh no, I'm very excited about this question.
But I really want to see something to what could be done to not require everybody to have lawns because they're unecological.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just want to give a little short story. I'll do the quick version. The last school that I worked at, I had the kids do their own project. They started with research. They came to solutions. And what they did is they created a plan to plant native plants along the embankment to decrease the amount of erosion that was happening from the river. And I love native species of plants. So one, we need to make sure that we're in classrooms educating the kids so they can go home and be very excited to tell their parents all about all the stuff they learned about how pivotal native plants are for ecology in our system here. And also too, when we look at economic gains, we can look elsewhere besides just development. We can look at becoming the epicenter of urban agriculture, and that includes working with all of these small farms that already exist and initiatives that already exist, and then amplifying them, because I know that if I have a site that has native plants on it that's near where my little farm is, not only am I feeding the community, potentially creating jobs, but also I'm creating this pathway for pollinators. And so that's beneficial to me. And so there's really a multiple, we can come at it multiple avenues, and I think it could be very successful because at the root of it in this area and surrounding area, we are agriculture. That's what, we have to come back to that. And also, too, changing the standard of what a good lawn is, because grass, it doesn't do anything ecologically for the ecosystem. And so those native plants are pivotal for the future for us if we want to continue to be able to eat food. Thank you for that question. Very excited about it, by the way. I love native plants. So.
Thank you, Kelsey. All right, for you, David, and yes. I promise you guys, I'm going right down this list. I did not write these questions. You do not have to answer to me. But there's a huge problem with liquor stores. And I'm going to reword the question just a little bit because it's weird. I think there was someone who was denied, then there was an appeal, and then they let the Michigan Liquor Commission let the license be granted. How will you change that dynamic to make sure that we don't have a liquor license or a liquor store on every corner? And do you think that our relationship with the Michigan Liquor Commission could be improved?
Right, thank you for the question. So as far as our relationship with the Michigan Liquor Commission, I hate to say it, but I don't think there's a lot we can do to improve or worsen it. I think that just from what I've seen in this process, it's a very sort of black and white. We're talking to a paper machine here that the only thing they are looking at is what is written in zoning codes and what is written in the state's laws. And as long as this business is following the state's laws and our zoning codes, then they don't actually care about the reality of the situation on the ground. Their job is not to be arbiters. Their job is just to relay what is this black and white information. So for me, that means that we have to do it completely from our end. We have to potentially look at zoning reworks to change liquor stores to be something that have to be specifically approved on a case-by-case basis by council members, or we should be looking to potentially see if we can have it so there can be maximum amounts of liquor stores per either certain population blocks or certain distances. I don't want to sound like I'm in favor of liquor stores by any means, but it's obvious that they are congregating in our poorest areas while leaving our highest income areas high and dry. There's no liquor stores on Moores River Drive, but there's quite a few not downtown, for example, until you start getting to the east side where all of a sudden you have a popping all up over Michigan Avenue. So this has to be from the city and from the city's black and white text. It's a shame that the Liquor Commission sort of overruled us there because, again, they are just following their black and white rules, so we need to fight their black and white rules with our own rules. So there are ways to actually fix this, but it has to be within the system, unfortunately, but doably.
Thank you, David. Next question for Brett is from the crowd. I feel bad. You second both times. I'll get you though.
First, thank everybody for participating in this. My name's Lynn, and I do live on the east side. I just recently purchased my very first home, and on Hayford. So here's my question and the concerns that I've noticed since I've lived here almost 3 years. And again, I'm directing it to you. Number one, our police department does a great job. They really, really do struggle, and it must be excessively frustrating to be arresting the exact same people again and again and again. The housing and the code enforcers, they do a good job with the resources that they have. However, again, it must be extremely frustrating dealing with the same people again and again and again, and not seeing, I'm not going to say not seeing, but maybe appearing as if the follow through with this is not actually going through. I don't want to point fingers that, certain departments are not doing anything because I don't know what's going on behind the scene. But I did write down quickly. So the problem is the follow through, the prosecution, where the punishment actually does fit the crime, and the follow through with those departments. I know it's between the city, between the state, and the county. And my question is, how can we pull all those resources together to make sure if our officers and code enforcers are out there risking their lives to protect us, you have the same people repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And this actually could go with the speeding as well. You have these people repeating it. We need something to put a little bit of bang, if not bite, into what we say. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I think in situations like that, we might be able to have a graduated tier system of punishments for continuing events. And the other problem is we don't have enough code enforcement officers. We're short 23 policemen. We're short 2 EMS units, and all of these are budgeted for and not being hired and hidden in a line item in the budget, which is called vacancy factor, meaning there is no intention whatsoever to hire $1.5 million worth of police officers, code officers, firemen, EMS units. So those two things, a tiered system of fines that escalates and punishes them more as they keep doing the same thing, and hiring more code enforcement officers.
Thank you, Brett. So now we're going to repeat the same thing. So Brett, you're still on, and the question is going to come from my list, not me. What do you see for neighborhoods? How do we strengthen neighborhoods? How do we get more involvement in neighborhoods? How important are neighborhoods in the bigger picture?
I think neighborhoods are very, very important. We have a strong neighborhood association here on the east side. They go out and pick up trash. They monitor the neighborhood. I'm lucky to live in a little rectangle that seems to be safer than the surrounding neighborhoods. So I think we need to encourage neighborhood associations and help them whenever we can, and listen to their concerns. You know, if I'm elected mayor, I definitely will listen and act on concerns.
Thank you, Brett. This next question is for David. You got one? He's been second like 20 times. I'm gonna.
Okay, so there are numerous planned developments downtown that are already undergoing construction or planned. Do you support a requirement for all or a majority of new housing to have a portion set aside for workforce housing and affordable housing? And how will you make sure those developers comply with that requirement?
This is a tougher one for me. So you said require a portion of the development. I would have to look into that a lot more. I'm not certain if there's any cities that actually have requirements for portions of developments to be workforce housing. On a face value, I don't think I would agree with it just as a black and white, because that is a much more nitty-gritty into the weeds of what does that actually mean from a policy standpoint, what does that actually mean from a legal standpoint, is that something we can even genuinely require from developers? I absolutely like the idea of it. It's almost sort of baking into the city's code that we would have, I don't want to say socialized housing, but the city would just be forced, developers would be forced to build workforce housing and affordable housing. So I love the idea of it. I would want to look at either other avenues or the fallout that could come from that. One thing that I've always been very interested in is sort of, I guess, tangential to that, is I've always wanted to see the city have its own, like, housing development authority, not just like the LHC, but like a city-owned and city-run housing development authority where the city, and this is going to sound a little crazy from the starts, the city has high-income luxury housing owned by the city at like the primest locations, and then we take the money from that then directly subsidizes low-income housing or providing housing vouchers to people to buy their own housing in the city. Basically, true, genuine, actual, socialized housing in the city of Lansing. This is something that cities all across the U.S., including the city of Lansing, used to have at one point. Lansing used to have, historically, a housing commission just like this. There are plenty of solutions to bring workforce housing into the city, and I want to see us look into all of them. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right, question from the list. I can't deny this one because I sent you questions earlier. Kelsey, what does a Lansing without General Motors look like to you?
A Lansing without General Motors is going to come with a lot of grief, and it has been over the years as we see the jobs decrease or the instability and long-term availability of those positions. What I think, though, is if we're really intentional about investing in communities and investing in place and not just counting on outside money to come into our community and save us, then we're going to be sustainably more secure in the long run, not just for me or you, but for the kids that come next. And so I think we really need to be thinking about the reality of the situation economically, what we see trending across the United States, and then really come up with our own solutions that's going to work for us. And that always comes back to what each individual community needs and how to invest here so that we don't have to count on someone who doesn't have roots here to care about us. And I would like, and I kind of finished with that, but I would like to take the rest of my time to acknowledge that having a more punitive system for people who commit crime is actually going to do the opposite of what we want it to do. And so when we look at crime, that comes from a need. People are not out here doing things because they just think it's fun. It comes from things like poverty, mental illness. And so if we want to see those things solved or helped, we have to look into harm reduction. That comes in many different modes and places, but harm reduction is the answer, and that comes at an intersectional way when we're looking at housing, we're looking at food, we're looking at mental health, we're looking at schooling. All of that is so interconnected, just like all of we are, and so we need to really step back and think about what happens when we're punitive to our neighbors, because it's not a criminal, it's your neighbor, it's your brother, it's your cousin, it is the person you went to high school with. And so I just want us to be very careful how we treat that part of our population.
Thank you. Well, we're in luck because he's going to get two in the row from the crowd. But this question is from Andy. I don't know who to go first. I'm going to go with Jody.
Andy, we know that our general population is mostly from income tax and property tax. We don't have a huge amount of money, and all these candidate forums, everybody's going to cure the world in Lansing, and it's not going to happen. My question is this. We always are talking about low-income housing and affordable housing, and there again, we're talking about our revenue that we're bringing in. My question is this: how hard are you working with the state legislature to do away with exclusionary zoning? Affordable housing has become a Lansing issue. It's not a Lansing issue, it's a regional issue. But they have done their zoning so that they don't have to take affordable housing and low-income housing. And we can no longer take anymore. We cannot sustain it and continue to run our city. And with that, same thing with the property tax. When are we going to bring real businesses with real wages into the city limits and stop depending on 425 agreements where the people that work there probably aren't from here and don't live here?
So there are a few questions in there. I will do my best. I'll take the last first. We absolutely are recruiting small businesses and major businesses. Neogen is investing $108 million in the city. Those are incredibly good jobs. We know that, and we know that we're pushing Lansing residents. As I knock doors, I talk to a lot of folks who work for Neogen, and I'm thrilled. Same thing with companies like NioWave, and believe it or not, we get a few spin-outs from MSU that are coming into the city, Emergent Biosolutions on the north side. People don't know this, we make the anthrax vaccine here in Lansing, you know that, and that used to be Bioport. So we actually do a lot of that work. We brought the LEDC, the Lansing Economic Development Corporation, back to the city. It was being run by LEAP. LEAP's great, but we brought them back in so they can focus on our city, and we prioritize that. We'll disagree a little bit on 425s. I understand what you're saying, but when you have a battery plant with a $2.7 billion investment, 1,700 jobs, and we're making all the income tax and we're making half the income and half the property tax, that's an incredible revenue source for our city. Additionally, the Board of Water and Light, they do a great job, and we receive a return on investment because we built them. So all of those are key parts of our revenue stream, which I know you know from when you were on council. In terms of housing, I am supportive of housing for all. I want to see everything from market rate all the way down to Lansing Housing Commission expansion. I want to see all of it. I want to see opportunity for everyone to be able to live in our city. And so we've supported projects when you look at the downtown, when you look at the south side, when you look at the west side. We've supported projects that are market rate. Down at Jolly and Aurelius and Miller, they're building market rate condos that they're going to rent out. Great, right in our city. Downtown, they're building market rate. Some of the towers market rate, and then we're doing workforce housing. So we want to see all of that. Workforce housing can unlock. Oh, all right, I'll finish later. Sorry, I get the red light.
All right. Now I'm not going to. My list has run out, so we're going to continue with the crowd and twice to you, and then everyone back. And you ready?
I have a question for Mayor Shore. Mr. Mayor, you have been the mayor for 8 years, and to put that number into perspective, that is 2 terms for a president. And in those 8 years, we have seen the worsening of crime, we have seen the worsening of housing, infrastructure. So my question is, why do you deserve another 4 more years to lead our city? And the other question that I have is, the past 7 months, I have been serving as a member of the Board of Police, and I actually served the First Ward. And I have attended many meetings, including meetings that was hosted by the Eastside Neighborhood Organization. And you can ask Nancy, I am the first Board of Police Commissioner to ever attend such meeting. And so when I applied for that position, the mayor didn't want to appoint me. And it took the convincing of Ryan Cost and Adam and everybody. Right now I'm up for reappointment, and the mayor is refusing to reappoint me. So are you against dissenting voice, and why haven't you approved my reappointment?
I am not ever against dissenting voice. What I am against is when folks do not tell the truth to the public. And I have heard significant complaint from members of the board and from our police officers and others. Crime has gone down. Crime has gone down for the last 2 years. It significantly spiked during the pandemic here and everywhere else, and it went down for the last 2 years. And as an advocate, you are free to say whatever you want. As an official of the city of Lansing, to come out and tell folks that crime has gone up is just not true. And when you say that as an advocate, fine, I don't have a problem with that. When you say that as a member of a board of the city, and I have people from the public, I have fellow commissioners, and I have members of the police department telling me that we do not believe that this gentleman should be reappointed, I have decided not to offer a reappointment. That is the honest truth. Going back to your original question, again, crime has gone down for the last 2 years. Not in every single category, but as an aggregate in most categories, homicides, shootings, a lot of different things. Probably not speeding, but crime has gone down. You may not like the numbers, but that is the numbers. We will provide it. We are transparent. It's on the police department's website. We have a spreadsheet. Housing, we have created thousands of new housing units. And again, I'm proud of that. Housing for all, for all incomes. We want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to live in the city of Lansing. And I have forgotten the balance of the beginning of your question, so I will end it there.
All right, two things. 425s, nobody knows what that is, so maybe someone online can put a link out there for us.
Do you want me to explain that or not?
I don't know if we should do that. And
It's a tax sharing agreement between two communities.
Yeah, but I think the general crowd might not understand that, and I think that if you have evidence, you have evidence. Anyone that can do the crime statistics, let's carry that online or whatever. Next question, Kelsey, is for Kelsey. Who would like to ask one? Nick? Oh, what's that? Yeah, okay.
So my question is, we have, obviously climate change is getting worse and worse. The climate change is getting worse. We're getting more storms, we're getting more flooding, more droughts, more everything. How would you go about making the city more resilient for these effects?
So I think back to my point that I was talking about before, what I would really love is for us to become the epicenter of new urban agriculture. And so what that means is that we're working with organizations that are already doing the work, local citizens that are already doing the work in growing food in our communities, and bolstering that, going to MSU and creating more partnerships where we have students coming, because they're already living in our neighborhoods. Let's bring them in on the conversation. Let's get some research points going and make us the place that everyone looks at when they want to see how to do it. This does a few really cool things. One, if we put resources into this and time, especially, it's not just about economic capital, money, it's also about social capital. And so if we take what the resources we do have, which is really strong community members, we can create a system that not only feeds our population, we have more local food, so we have to rely less on trucking in loads of food from all across the U.S. and all across the world. And not to mention, when we have a hand in how our food is grown, we often take care of ourselves better. We create stronger relationships with our neighbors. And there's just so many benefits to this. And I mean, also looking at BWL and making sure that we have a process to go greener, that there is avenues for not only them as an organization, but also citizens to get like solar power and different things across the city. There are programs that exist, and I think that looking into more outside sources too to find more things that we can bring into our community is really pivotal. And also the education piece, right? And so continue to have conversations, continue to sit at dining room tables and talk to your neighbors about what climate change means for our future, and also bringing kids in it, right? I love coming up with solutions with the students that we already have in our community, because usually they're more creative than us and they can think of way better solutions than we can.
Thank you, Kelsey. A question for David. I'm going to go to
Okay, so this is a question about the second ward and our lack of a neighborhood center. Because I think the first and fourth ward, they have a few community centers, while the southwest third ward, they have the Southside Community Center. But in the second ward, we barely have anything. The only thing that we really have is a nature center, Fenner. So in terms of community centers, we pretty much have the shaft. So do you think it could be feasible for the second ward to have a neighborhood center? And if so, should we consider using pre-existing buildings like the old Career Quest or Sam's Club as possible community centers? Or should we consider a new building entirely? And if so, is either of them feasible?
Yes. I think the second ward absolutely should have a community center. I think it's a bit weird that they don't. That's always been a bit of a strange one for me, calling that it's a quarter of the city. As far as like going into its own building versus a brand new one, that would require entirely looking at what properties are available, because I wouldn't exactly know every property available for a new community center in the second ward, but If there's one available and it's more affordable to do it that way and still have a good building, then absolutely. If not, then let's pursue a grant or see if we can allocate the money ourselves to have this community center put in and have it put in. I wouldn't personally mind seeing it at, you mentioned Fenner Nature Center, and I absolutely love Fenner. If we could possibly work out a deal to expand like a community space there and have that, because I know they have educational areas in Fenner for like students and such. If we had a larger sort of multi-use area in Fenner, I think that'd be fantastic. It's a fairly central location within the 2nd Ward, and it's accessible by bus as well. So I think that would be a fantastic location for one. So yeah.
Thank you, David. All right, last question from the crowd to Brett. Anyone?
Hi. Well, as you know, this year we have a city charter commission. And one of the first things they decided was that we're going to stick with a strong mayor system and not move to a city manager system. Do you support that, or do you think we should have changed the system?
Well, this may sound strange coming from a mayoral candidate, but I am a strong supporter of the city manager. I think we need to take politics out of financial decisions in running the city and leave the mayor to be an ambassador, to go out and find new businesses, to be an ombudsman for the people, and be more of a figurehead and a strategic planner. And definitely, I would rather see the city manager system.
I know. Trying to figure out the logistics here. So I think everybody's had an equal amount of questions from both the list and the crowd now. And so what I'm going to do is ask everybody to do their 1-minute closing. And I think I'm going to jump over to Andy and then come this way, if that's okay. You good with that, everyone? Yeah. Yep. Okay.
All right, well, thank you all for being here tonight. I love doing these. For me, this is about the growth of our city. This is about the investment, the development throughout the city. I'm excited for things coming in the south side over Pleasant Grove and Holmes. I'm excited for the things on Michigan Avenue. I'm excited for things downtown. We have a lot going on right now. We have a lot of people that want to live here, and we're building a lot of housing. We're helping to rehab a lot of housing. We're making sure that folks feel safe in their homes. Using violence intervention as well as policing. So I am excited for everything that we're going to have in growth. The one thing we didn't touch on, which is what I hear more than anything else, is our roads. We have $17 million right now that we get between us and the state, and we have $300 million in need. We're pushing the state for more. I hope you'll help. We will get your pothole, but in terms of fixing wholesale roads, we don't have the money, and I don't want to raise your taxes. So we're going to keep fighting that fight. We'll fix your potholes, and we're going to push for triple the funding from the state. Governor's supportive, so is the Republican Speaker of the House. I hope you'll help me out, and I hope to earn your vote on August 5th. Thank you.
First, I want to thank everyone for coming and listening to us talk up here and ask really great questions. It was great to learn more about our city council before I got up here, and just hearing so many wonderful stories about how amazing Lansing already is. And I would love to hear more about what you want to see in the future, whether that is immediate or long-term. And I hope that, come ask me questions, get to know me, and I hope everyone has a wonderful night.
Third person to say thank you all so much for coming out here and sitting in this nice seasonally warm room with the rest of us up here. This is probably the coolest thing I have ever done in my entire life, and I am completely honored to be up here. As we go into the election, I just want you all to think about the city itself. Drive around, look at the roads, look at their condition, look at their widths, look at the empty vacant lots downtown, and ask yourself, how much tax revenue are we missing? How much are we spending to uphold all this infrastructure? And how much use do we actually get for what we're paying for? And is there a better solution forwards? I will see you all in the future, and you better be there on August 5th. Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank you all for coming. I've always believed that well-informed voters are good voters, and I'm glad that you've made the investment in time to come down and listen to us all. The major complaint I hear from constituents, voters, is that our taxes are way too high and that rents are way too high. And property taxes going up are automatically pushed by landlords onto the renters. So every property tax increase is a rent increase, and the people would like to see that stopped or slowed down. I also want to hire all those people that haven't been hired, even if it means making some cuts in some other departments. I fully believe in fire, police, and public park workers taking first priority. I want to get back to basics, and then we can do the fun stuff. Thank you.
Thank you all. Please give them a hand. I will reiterate, you just participated in democracy. There are single mothers who live in poverty in our city that are making meals for their children right now who don't have the transportation to be here. I just found out about the online thing about 4 minutes ago. So hi online, everyone. Go home, talk to your neighbor. If you don't know your neighbor, then go meet your neighbor and tell them something about this democracy. Tell them about how they might be able to participate, whether you are seasoned or new, young or old. Our democracy is what we have. It's what is the thing that makes our country great. And we might not all be proud of everything that's happening around us right now, but you will be proud when your neighborhood is strong because you participate in democracy. You will be proud when one of these candidates makes us just a little bit better. And we might not all love each other the way that we should, but I guarantee you one thing, we need to punch up. We don't need to punch sideways. So much love, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you so much for letting me be dirty and do this.